Hello everyone, welcome back to MLS Moves. Please make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Before we get to the video, I'd like to thank you all for your support and remind you that we're doing a jersey giveaway when we hit 3,000 subscribers. 3,000 subscribers is our goal to reach by the end of this month, so make sure you subscribe, stay subscribed, follow me on Twitter at MLS Moves for the latest updates on the giveaway. Now, on to the video. So today we're going to be talking about the State of MLS April update, what's going on with the good teams, the bad teams, MVP candidates so far, and also coaches who could or are likely to be on the hot seat. Now, starting off with the good teams, the first team that I want to talk about is Inter Miami, obviously. Inter Miami was one of the worst teams in MLS last season, and this season they continue to succeed. They're continuing to win. And they look like a pretty formidable team, even though they've had several injuries. Diego Gomez just recently got hurt. Jordi Alba has a hamstring injury. Federico Redondo, who was one of their big-time signings before the season had started or in the early part of the season, as a U22, is hurt. But this team is still winning, and they're currently number one in the East. Now, they have played one more game than anyone else in the East, or the Red Bulls, who are technically in second place, but they're at the top of the table. And even with the injuries, they still look good. Luis Suarez is in contention for the Golden Boot. He's looked very good. The knee concerns haven't been as big of a deal as we originally had thought. He's been scoring at a decent pace, has 6 goals this year. But the big surprise, well, depending on who you ask, is Messi finally finding his normal form and delivering for this club. Currently, Messi has 7 goals and 3 assists throughout the season, and he looks like he could be overtaking the number 1 spot and most likely player to win MVP this year. So this team is playing very consistently. I know that they lost in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, got bounced out early, but they're doing well in MLS. They're getting a good, safe, comfortable lead because there's going to be several players missing this summer with the Olympics and Copa America. So they're building themselves a safe, comfortable lead in the standings, and it looks like they're going to be a playoff team for sure. Another team I want to talk about is the LA Galaxy. The LA Galaxy has been playing very well, and they are also at the top of the West currently. Greg Vanney, who a lot of people wanted to get fired last year with the lackluster results he'd had over a couple seasons, has finally turned around. This team is building their roster in a different way. They've added Joseph Paintsil and Gabriel Peck, and also Dejan Joveljic has been scoring at a consistent rate. He's also in the Golden Boot contention. This team is playing a lot better and more solid overall. Ricky Puig is playing very well, arguably the best midfielder in Major League Soccer this season. This club looks like they are finally back to their winning ways that we saw over a decade ago as the most historic, the winningest club in MLS history. It looks like they're back. They're at the top of the West. A lot of people thought that would have been far-fetched, even with the additions they made this offseason. But here we are, almost 10 games or 9 games through the season, and they're the number 1 team in the West at the top of the table. Very impressive team. The other team I want to talk about who is very surprising and has done very well this year is the Vancouver Whitecaps. Vanni Sartini has been a great manager since he got hired in 2021 for the Whitecaps, and currently they're number 2 in the Western Conference, just behind the LA Galaxy. Now, this isn't a team that traditionally spins very big, but they have had some success throughout their tenure, especially in MLS. They have made the most of what they had. You look at players like Brian White, who has had a little bit of a slower season than last year, but he is arguably the most underrated player in Major League Soccer. He scored 15 goals last year. He's probably the best player in MLS that most fans don't know about. I think that he's very good, and he's a lethal scorer, especially by MLS standards. Obviously, Ryan Gald is a very good midfielder. The Scottish international has been a revolutionary player for this team. He's really transformed them and made them a more complete team and helped set things up and just really is the glue to this whole entire club. And I think he's another underrated player in Major League Soccer. This whole team is just built with underrated players that you probably don't know about because a lot of people don't talk about the Vancouver Whitecaps. But they're a very fun team to watch. A lot of underrated players, very solid formationally. Santini has very good tactics. Obviously Takioka is a very good goalkeeper, very high on him. I think he's very solid. This is a team that's sneaky good. Not a lot of people are paying attention to them, but you better start paying attention to them because they could make some real noise when the playoffs come, and they might just be the best team in Canada. Who would have thought that would be the case? Obviously, Toronto's kind of fallen off since Lorenzo Insigne got hurt. So, there is only 2 other clubs, but this is by far the best team in Canada, and it's the second best team in the West right now. Keep an eye on the Vancouver Whitecaps. When we're talking about the most disappointing teams, the teams at the bottom so far this season, we have to talk about the San Jose Earthquakes. The San Jose Earthquakes have been completely disappointing this year after making the playoffs last year with a lackluster to underwhelming roster in total by MLS standards. They added Pellegrini this year from the Nordic League, who was the Golden Boot winner last year, and he has been a total bust. He's done nothing for this club. Christian Espinosa has actually taken a step back after being an MVP candidate last year, and I honestly think that the Luchi Gonzalez experiment is coming to a close, and it's not going to be much longer until he's fired from the club and they'll move in a different direction. But I just wish this team would invest more. I wish that they would actually show that they give or that they care about this team and that they want to invest resources and try to make them better instead of being complacent, taking other MLS rejects, or just escaping by and not actually trying to push the envelope and win. San Jose, the days of Chris Wondolowski seem far gone. This isn't even the same club. It's not recognizable. Very sad state for the team. Hopefully they can get things together and start competing fairly soon. The next team I want to talk about is FC Dallas. FC Dallas can't escape the injury bug. They spent all this money on Peter Musa, who was supposed to be a lethal goal scorer for Dallas. They bought him for $10 to $12 million from Benfica. He hasn't played, and when he hasn't been consistent. Paul Arriola has been inconsistent. Sebastian Leget's been inconsistent. Paxton Pomykal has not lived up to the expectations. There's just so many pieces that just aren't meeting demands. Even Jesus Ferreira can't stay healthy and help this team out. Just so many things across the board and so many issues. Healthy players, injured players, they can't get the consistent performances they need. I think that the Nico Estevez experiment is also close to being done. Very disappointing season. FC Dallas has got to be one of the biggest misses this year. I had them finishing second in the West. They have totally underwhelmed, and currently they're second to the bottom of the West right now. And lastly, I have to go with the New England Revolution. Caleb Porter is a very good MLS coach. Okay, keep in mind I say good MLS coach. I'm not saying he would go to any other league across the world and do good, but he's good for MLS and he knows what he's doing. He's won 2 MLS Cups. He won one with the Portland Timbers and he won one with the Columbus Crew. So obviously he's got the pedigree of winning, but this team just has a lot of issues. Carlos Hill hasn't been the same. Vrioni hasn't scored like they need him to. They need some help in the back line. They need a goalkeeper. Like they had obviously Matt Turner and then they had Petrovic and they haven't replaced him with an effective starter. And you can tell that this team has not been the same since he left. Also, it's the Bruce Arena curse, which I mention all the time. I believe that is a real thing because if you look at when he was suspended or left the club, they have went on a disastrous losing streak where I think they might have only won 1 or 2 games since Bruce Arena's left, which is crazy to think about. But yes, I believe that curse is real. This team is in shambles right now. I don't know if Bob Kraft or Jonathan Kraft are paying any attention to what's going on. They put this renderings up of this stadium that they're supposedly going to build. It was, not great renderings. It's very chaotic. I don't know what's going on, but they have also been arguably the worst team in MLS this year. And they're going to have an incredible summer to add some pieces to turn this thing around. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to do that. Now, as far as MVP candidates, at number 1, I have to have Leo Messi. Messi has 7 goals, 3 assists this season, and this is after having some injuries. He's still able to put up these stats and be in contention for the Golden Boot. Now, in all honesty, If Messi's even remotely close statistically at the top of MLS, we all know the league is going to want to give him the MVP award or hope that he wins it, because it gives a spotlight on the league to be able to say Messi is the MVP of MLS. So if he's even remotely close statistically at the top, I just don't see how they don't give him the MVP award. I mean, that's just how it is. The second player that I think is at the top of the list is Chicho Arango. Chicho Arango is currently the Golden Boot leader for MLS right now with 8 goals. He's also got 2 assists. And on top of that, RSL is currently in 3rd place right now in the West. Chicho Arango is a great player, and I think a lot of people who watch MLS know of him. He has always been very good in MLS, especially at LAFC. And I think LAFC definitely missed him since he left. There was obviously some contract issues, and they couldn't really fit him under the MLS salary guidelines, because he would have had to been a DP, and they would have had to get rid of their 2 of their U22s. But he comes to RSL after being sold to Pachuca from LAFC, and he has tore it up ever since. This is a great signing for RSL, and he's number 2 right now for me in the MVP race. And at number 3, I have to have Ricky Puig. He's not having statistically the best season as far as assists or goals, but if you just watch an LA Galaxy game, you see how integral and how important he is to the club, and how he's the cog of the machine. He is pulling all the strings for what this club does in the attack and the defense. He touches the ball more than any other player in Major League Soccer. If this team lost him, it would be detrimental to the team's success, and he currently has them at number 1 in the Western Conference. How could you not have Ricky Puig in the MVP conversation right now? I think you have to, especially with the Galaxy's success this year. And last but not least, here are my 3 coaches who I think are on the hot seat currently. At number 3, I have to have Nico Estevez with FC Dallas. Like I said earlier, this team has made a huge commitment in spending and trying to build this team to be a serious contender for MLS Cup. He is underwhelmed. He hasn't delivered for what the investment has been. I think that the Nico Estevez project has come to an end, and I look for him to be fired soon if things do not turn around. At number 2, I have Brian Schmetzer. Brian Schmetzer, who is one of the most decorated coaches in MLS history. He's got 2 MLS Cups. He's got a CONCACAF Champions League trophy, but he is also the first manager in Seattle Sounders history to not qualify for the playoffs. This year, they're not looking like they're going to qualify for the playoffs either. They only have 6 points, and they've only won 1 game this year. So I think that he's got to be on the hot seat. It might be time for a change in Seattle, try to get some new blood in there and get some fresh ideas. And at number 1, I have Gary Smith. Gary Smith had some very good seasons in his early days with Nashville SC, but he's really stagnated, and the team is getting worse, not better. They have arguably a top 3 player in the league in Hani Mukhtar, but that's not enough anymore. Hani Mukhtar was able to hide a lot of this club's deficiencies and carry them and prevail this club to win, but that can only get you so far. You have to evolve with the current times. This team has no U22 players. They have a center back as a designated player. This club needs a complete rebuild, in my opinion, and they need to revamp it to where it looks like the modern MLS roster style and give Hani Mukhtar some help. Sam Surridge has not lived up to the transfer fee they paid. They need to get things fixed. They need fresh ideas. I think Gary Smith is on the way out. I don't look for him to be with this club much longer. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section, who do you think is the best team in MLS so far this season? Who is the worst team in MLS so far this season? Who do you guys have as your MVP leader? And what coach do you think is most likely to get fired first? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. And until next time, I will see you all soon.